Thank you for coming. And this is our little celebratory event for Kafka the Kat, who sadly passed away about 5.5 months ago. And this is our chance to celebrate everything that he brought to all of us, who got to meet him and got to know him. And so anyway, thank you. Please take as many pictures as you want, because I would like for you to send them to me so I can then post them on Facebook later. So please feel free to take lots and lots of pictures. And we'll get started. I'm going to read from Kafka's book at some point. I'm going to read from some of the stuff I've written about Kafka since he passed, and I'm also going to talk about what my life with Kafka was like. So let me go up on the table and start doing some things here. Before I get underway, we have a special guest here today, and he's sitting all the way in the back there with the baseball cap on. And his name is Joe Frinzi, and if it wasn't for Joe, I wouldn't have had Kafka. It was his ex-wife's cat that had kittens, and Joe told me about it because he worked in the same building as I did, and because he knew I was looking for a new cat because my other cat had passed away about a year before that. And so thank you, Joe, for bringing Kafka into my life. He was a wonderful, wonderful cat, and I'm so glad I got to have him for as long as I did. I wish I had him for a few more years, but that's not the way it turned out. So anyway, I'm going to read from some stuff that I wrote after Kafka passed away. I have this one story I wrote, and it's called Kafka the Kat's Moon Mystery. And it was sort of inspired partly by this piece of artwork that I picked up somewhere, and also the Kafka moon images that you see below. That kind of inspired me to create this story. And it's really about what happens to our souls when we die, and how our pets are connected to that, and to us, and it's all involving the moon as well. So anyway, let me just read this to you real briefly. What is it about the moon that evokes in the onlooker both awe and dread? Certainly, its luminous quality does much to establish the awe we feel. But as a harbinger of the night, the moon casts a spell of eerie unease that is akin to dread. Its changing shape from a full glowing orb to a thin crescent and then back again did little to encourage any sense of stability with our ancient ancestors, who saw this shapeshifter as the epitome of variability. Shakespeare himself even referred to it as the inconstant moon in his tragic classic Romeo and Juliet. As a ruler of the night sky, according to some pagan sects, the moon was also the keeper of the underworld, wherein the souls of the departed would travel to make their home in the afterlife. But what do we know about this afterlife? In Shakespeare's famous To Be or Not to Be soliloquy from Hamlet, he refers to death as the undiscovered country from whose bourne no traveler returns, which means that once you're dead, there is no coming back. Of course, Hamlet's dead father does return as a ghost to tell his son how he was murdered, and that it is Hamlet's duty to avenge his death. Therefore, it would seem that the two worlds of the living and the dead are somehow connected. So is the moon simply the farthest piece of cemetery real estate for all the departed souls to now inhabit who once trod upon the earth? Having shuffled off this mortal coil, Shakespeare again, do our ancestors look back upon us as we stare up at the glowing lunar gravestone that orbits our planet? An unanswerable question, perhaps, but one that raises even more uncertainty. Beyond humanity, what about our companion pets once they have passed on? Does the Rainbow Bridge span the 250,000-mile distance from the Earth to the moon? Do pets and humans frolic amongst the mountains and craters of our nearest astrological neighbor? Does that one small step for man also lead to one giant leap for pet kind in the afterlife? Well, according to Kafka the Kat, the answer is a resounding yes. For those who don't know, Kafka the Kat, who gained fame as a feline author, sadly and unexpectedly passed away in February 2025, possibly from an undiagnosed form of cancer. He left behind an undisclosed number of unpublished writings that are being assessed by the eponymously named Kafka the Kat Foundation, with an eye towards publication in the near future. His works have been collected and archived by the Foundation Board, whose members feel that these writings are worthy of being released to the public once they have been curated and edited, much as were the works of the original Franz Kafka a century ago. It is this legacy as an author which will ensure that Kafka the Kat achieves a longevity with the public that all writers aspire to. Anne Frank wrote in her acclaimed diary, which was published in 1947 after her death in a Nazi concentration camp, "I want to go on living after my death." Her diary has since been published in over 70 languages. Some say that the souls of pets exist because of the love of their human companions, but they in fact exist of their own accord, just as we humans do with our own soul. And consistent with this notion is Kafka the Kat's idea that if there is a connection between the two, humans and pets, love will continue in the afterlife. And so it can be reasoned that if human souls dwell on the moon, then that is where we will find their companion pets. So the next time you gaze up at the moon in this starry night sky, know that all your departed pet companions are looking back, waiting for you to join them. And I hope that's true. So now I'm going to read a couple of poems that I wrote after Kafka passed. The first one, which is called Kafka Moon, was inspired by the same piece of artwork that's on these little tote bags I'm going to be giving out. I created that image after he passed away, and it just made me think I wanted to write a poem about that, and I called it Kafka Moon. And that's also on the back of these cards here. This is the memorial card, and I hope you will all come up and take a copy of that at some point. But anyway, the first one, Kafka Moon, goes like this. There was a moon that came and went, but not enough time with me it spent. It cast a warm and loving glow. That wondrous light, I miss it so. I searched the heavens each night and day, but that moon had left and gone away. In the days and weeks I felt no relief from the constant pain of my private grief. I resolved to think and find a way to keep this ongoing pain at bay. So as I wipe the tears that stain my face, I'll find another moon to take its place. And that last line gets me every time. That was Kafka's death from my perspective. I also wrote a piece from his perspective, and that's this one over here, which is called Kafka's Eve. And it's real short, and I'm sure I won't forget it, but I'm still going to refer to it. Okay, Kafka's Eve. I am the night, and I live in your dreams. Take care of the darkness, for whatever it seems. I beckon your conscience, so you will believe. For I am the night, and I am the eve. That's it.
Yep, it's beautiful.
Short and sweet. So, anyway, gotta read from this book. That's right. Gotta find a passage from this book that's worth reading. And it'll be something very short. Maybe the introduction might be good. And again, I will have copies of this available that I will sign if anyone's interested. If you already have one and you know somebody else you think might like a copy, feel free to come up and I'm going to be selling them at a reduced price, and I will sign them. Okay, I'm going to read the introduction here, and it's called My Story. In writing one's memoirs, there is a certain expectation from the reader that it be an accurate account of the events to be told by the author. Perhaps that is why I chose to tell my story now, while the clarity of memory is still so vital and strong within me. Had I waited until my declining years, as many a memorialist has done, or actually it's memoirist, has done, I fear that it would have been a disservice to both the reader and to those directly involved in the tale I am sharing. In that regard, I have done my best to give an honest and reliable account of my life so far. I can't say I remember clearly the very early days following my birth, though I do have fond recollections of snuggling at the bosom of my mother with my feline siblings and doing what I could to get my share of food from the communal bowl. Sometimes we would roll around on the floor playfully fighting with one another, though those bouts always seemed to be with us curled up together napping. Always seemed to end with us curled up and napping. Let me see, okay. There were humans involved in our upkeep as well, and eventually, one by one, we were plucked from the warmth and security of our mother and placed into new homes, never to be reunited. Though unsure of what my future held, I faced it not so much with fear, but with hopeful anticipation of what might lay ahead. It was under these circumstances that I met my own human companion. And then the book continues on from there about our life together. So anyway, I think I'm going to conclude this portion of the thing just giving a few little recollections about what it was like having Kafka. Pardon me while I wipe myself down here. I'm like perspiring quite a bit. So. Oh boy. So anyway, I got Kafka back in 2011 from my good friend Joe Frinzi, right after I moved into downtown Easton again after having been away from it for a long time. And so I got him, he was delivered to where I was working, and I fell in love with him immediately. And in fact, I even have a photo of the day we actually met. That's in the book, by the way, that picture of the day we actually met each other. And I fell in love with him immediately. I thought he was so cute. He was so tiny back in those days, and he was a great companion. And I took him home, and he just ran around the house, just getting into everything, exploring everything he could. One of his favorite things to do when he was a kitten was when I was in bed. I had a memory foam mattress on the floor, so it wasn't that far off the ground. And if I was laying in the bed and I had a blanket over me and it was like over my feet, so that you just saw these bumps sticking up from the blanket, he would be on the floor and he would see those bumps, and he would like kind of scrooch down, and his little butt would move, and he would just throw himself up onto the bed. It was so funny, to attack my feet. And that was like one of my favorite memories of him as a kitten. And he just used to do that over and over and over again. And so I just have these great memories of him. And then, he grew up, and I took him around. He became very, very popular in downtown Easton. Everyone got to meet him. I had him in a bag initially, and then when he outgrew that, I got him a nice stroller. And again, these are all stuff, all these tales are all in the book as well. But he got to know a lot of people downtown, and that was really, really nice. And I certainly enjoyed it, being able to share him with other people. And then when I came to collaborate with him on a book, because even though I wrote it down, I really felt I was channeling him very much. So anyway, when that happened, us writing a book together, I took great pleasure in that, and it took off. I mean, it was very, very popular, and still is to this day, and hopefully it will continue to be. So, I had him for 13 and a half years, and sadly, like I say, he passed away Not really sure why. I think it might have been from cancer because he lost a lot of weight and everything, but it was very, very unexpected. It's not like where a cat gets real sick and you know you're gonna have to get them put down. You kind of you're able to prepare yourself for that. But in Kafka's case, it was just, I woke up one morning, I couldn't find him. He was hiding under the sofa, and I pulled him out. He was still alive, but he was clearly in the process of dying. And it was incredibly sad, as anybody who's lost a pet knows exactly what that's like. And so that was a terrible 2 days, for sure, you know, and it's been, like I say, 5.5 months now, and I still miss him every single day. But I do have some very good news to announce. I got an email from my friend Kati, and she sent me 2 pictures of a couple of kittens. She's been monitoring this feral cat, and this cat gave birth about, I guess maybe about a month ago. I'm not exactly sure how far back it was. But she sent me a picture showing 2 different kittens, and I'm hoping I'm gonna get to choose between them. I sent her an email back immediately saying, oh, I love them both. You know, one was black with some white on it, the other one was all gray. And I said, I wanna meet them and you know, make my final choice then. I said, but I'm leaning towards the black one. But I said, don't get rid of any of them. Let me get first choice, please. So hopefully I'll get to see these cats in the next couple of days, and then I'll get a new kitten. And that's something I've been waiting to do for the last 5 months. You know, really. Yeah.
What if the new kitten is a musician instead
Speak
of?
up.
What if the new kitten is a musician instead of a writer?
Yeah, that's a good question. He can be both. But we'll see.
You were a drummer.
Huh?
You were a drummer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah. But I already have a name picked. I don't want to really tell. I mean, some people already know, but I'm kind of keeping that a secret right now. But I already have a name and a plan picked out for this new kitten, and I'll tell you later what's going on. But whatever, I'm looking forward to getting this new cat as soon as possible. I've already got laid in a supply of food and all the things. I got some toys for him, and I got a whole bunch of things. You know, I bought him a new fountain. Got rid of the old one, got a new fountain. So I've already all set for him to go. If I was to get him tomorrow or later today, it would be okay. I could do it. But
Is it male or female?
we'll see how that goes.
Males or females?
I'm not sure. I mean, I'm leaning towards wanting a male only because all my cats have been boys.
Would you know what these 2 are?
But it's not like carved in stone. Like when I meet these cats, these kittens, you know, whatever one I fall in love with, I don't care if it's a male or a female. It really doesn't matter. But if I had my say in the matter, you know, it would be like I would like to have another male, just because they've all been boys, and I feel it would be nice to continue that trend. But it's not a big deal. It doesn't really matter, you know, once they've been fixed, they're really like, you know, it doesn't really matter what sex they were or anything like that.
Usually.
But anyway,
We'll
see what
Usually
goes.
the cat.
What's that?
Usually the cat will choose you.
Well, yeah, that's true. I'll see which one responds to me exactly. And in the case of Kafka, I didn't really have a choice. You know, Joe told me he had a cat for me, and he brought it in, and it turned out to be a boy. You know, which again I was fine with. My other 2 cats had been boys anyway, and I just, like I say, it really wouldn't have mattered. I was going to call him Kafka no matter what. That name had already been picked. But if it was a girl cat, I could still could use the name. But it works better being a boy since Kafka is a male person, you know. But we'll see how it all goes when everything's all done. Any other questions anyone has? I'll be happy to answer any questions you have. Oh, thank you for coming way back there. So that's my doctor, by the way. And she loves Kafka. She knows all about him. And so she said she was coming with her 2 kids. So I'm glad you made it.
She's 3.
I'm glad you made it. And I was hoping for a few more people, but you get what you get. So that's the way it goes. So anyway, feel free, please, to come up and take the stickers and the cards, and I have lots of bags here that I want everybody to make sure they get a Kafka tote bag that you can take and put whatever you want in it and do whatever you want. They turned out really nice, by the way. I'm real happy with those. And I'm ready to I'm ready to start selling books if anybody wants to buy a copy for anybody. Yes?
How are you gonna introduce your new cat to us?
How am I gonna introduce my new cat?
Mhm.
You'll see. I'll be posting about
We're
it.
getting emails, I know that.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that's why I wanted everyone to take lots of pictures and send them to me
Yeah.
and everything about this event, and then I will be, once I'm sure I got the cat and all that kind of stuff, the new kitten, then I will be posting stuff. I already have a name picked out, already created a logo for him that I'll be using, so, you know, you'll see, you know, when the time
Maybe you can
comes.
get two of them.
Hmm?
Maybe you can get both of them.
Yeah. good
Both of
idea.
them, then they have buddies.
Yeah, maybe you'll end up with two.
So, but anyway, that's all I really have to say, I think, about, other than that, like I say, I miss him every single day, and it's, I wouldn't have made any of this artwork if he hadn't have passed away. None of this would have happened, so I'm glad something positive came out of, you know, such a really sad thing, because, again, yeah.
You did a great job, Joe.
Yes.
I couldn't have done it without crying with my cat.
Oh, yeah, I wanna talk to you then about, Camille passing
Yeah.
and everything, yeah, his cat lived to be 20, you know, it's like, I wanna find out what his secret was, you know?
And my cat before was 19.
Yeah, he's always had. a long
That's why
time.
I'm not getting another one, it'll outlive me.
Yeah, and I was hoping to get a few more years with Kafka. I mean, he was like 13 and a half, and he was healthy as far as I knew. Like I say, he started losing a lot of weight, and I just thought it because I had him on different food, you know, because he was never really fat, but he was kind of like a big cat. And then, hey, how you doing, guys? So anyway, I wasn't expecting him to pass when he did, and but the big giveaway, I guess, was 2 days before he died, he stopped eating. And anybody who's had a cat knows that occasionally they do get finicky, and they might not eat something for a day or two. But I told myself that night, after the 2 days of him not eating, that if he's the same way tomorrow, then I'm gonna make an appointment with the vet. And then sadly, that next morning, that's when he passed away. And, you know, I didn't have any way to be prepared for that. And he had been fine up until then, even though he had stopped eating, I mean, he was still pooping and peeing and drinking, you know, water and stuff like that. Like I say, he did stop eating, but otherwise he seemed like he was totally fine. So it was a real shock when he passed away when he did. And
Yeah.
it's you just never know,
Yep.
you know, what's gonna happen when a pet passes away or anything like that.
Yeah, Joe,
But
yeah, Joe.
yeah,
Yeah, with Camille, she just turned 20.
right.
And then like a week later or so, she stopped eating too.
I know you
And
said
knew
that
that.
when you took, you know, when you helped me take Kafka's body up to the vet to get him cremated, you know, we talked about that, you know, you said your cat was gonna be 20 real soon, and that you didn't expect her to live a whole lot longer, you know, just because. And, so, yeah, it's so sad when that happens, and like I said, Kafka's was my third cat, and the other two, they just got ill and I had to have them put down, but this was the first time where, you know, just died right in front of me and all that kind of stuff, so I was very unexpected like that. The other weird thing about him passing away, because this happened like about 5:30 in the morning, and there was like nothing I could really do, and so I took his body, and just to put it somewhere, I put it into this like little cardboard box, and he had only been dead like maybe not even a half an hour at that point, but when I tried to put him in the box, he'd already gotten stiff, like from rigor mortis, and I didn't realize it set in that quickly. I mean, I had to like force it in there. I didn't want to break his limbs or anything to make him fit into the box. I mean, I could have, and it wouldn't have mattered to him, but you know, I just didn't want to do that to him. But I managed to like just kind of squeeze him in there, and then when I made the arrangements to take him to the vet to have him cremated, I had this soft-sided bed that he didn't use. You know, he'd stopped using it like years ago, but I still had it, and I put him in that because it kind of molded around him, you know, this way. It didn't matter that he had stiff limbs or anything. And I just threw a towel over top of him because, you know, carrying him out, I didn't want anyone to see I had a dead animal in there. So that's how I dealt with that. And again, it was you know, terribly sad thing to go through. And like I say, most people here have probably lost a pet, you know, in their life. Just about everybody's had that experience, so you all know what it's like. But you never get used to it, that's for sure. And this new cat, when I get him, I'm 70 now, so I figure this is gonna be my last pet. Because if I have him for 12 or even 15 years, I'm gonna be like in my mid-80s by then. And I think, you know, that'll probably be it for me as far as, you know, getting a pet. Unless I get like a senior pet, you hear about that, like old people just taking care of like an older pet that, you know, doesn't have anybody. And that's a possibility too, but you know, I'll worry about that when the time comes. So anyway, that's pretty much all I have to say about Kafka right now, unless you, like I say, have any questions. Oh, by the way, this is a digital version of the shrine I made for him. I had this window ledge, kind of like a little niche area, and I created this little shrine, and I sit in front of it every night, and I talk to him, and I tell him about, you know, what I did that day, or you know, I told him all about this event coming up and everything. I keep hoping he's gonna like appear somehow. Make his presence known. Yes.
Well, he was such a presence around town when you were walking with the stroller. I wonder if you have any anecdotes or anything unusual to say, or anything you recall when people met him.
That's a good one. One of the funnier things that would happen is when I had him in the stroller, and I would go down to the farmer's market, and people would initially, you know, they see some guy coming up with a stroller, and they just assume it's a baby in there. And the funniest reaction I would get is like, you know, as I got closer with it, they would look in there and go, "Oh, geez, there's a cat in there." And so that was always funny to get that kind of reaction. The other reaction, of course, he was a very, as you can tell from the picture, a very handsome cat. So people were kind of blown away just meeting him. They couldn't believe like how good looking he was, you know. And he was very friendly. You know, he was very cooperative to be in the stroller. Didn't seem to mind being in there. He didn't like being put into the stroller because he knew he would be in there for a while. I would be taking him out. He'd be like in there for an hour or two. So if he heard me getting the stroller out, he would run and hide. You know, like he'd go underneath the sofa or whatever, or just disappear. And I'd have to look around and find him and like pull him out and then put him into the stroller. But once he was in there, he was okay. Because he just realized, okay, I'm in here now, I'm stuck in here.
Yep.
And he just made the best of it. And he was good. Like I say, he was very, very good. He liked meeting people. He liked being the center of attention. He really did like that, the attention he got. And he got to meet tons of people. Of course, after he wrote his book, I had a business card made for him so that I could hand out to people. And I used to do that. So when people would see him, like they'd meet him in the stroller at the farmer's market or whatever, I would say, "Oh, he's a very special cat," and I say, "You know, he wrote his own book." Well, actually, before I said I would hand him, I say he has his own business card, and they were like freaked out about that, you know. And I flipped the card over. I said, because on the back I had a picture of the book. Because, and I flip it over, he wrote his own book, and they get freaked out even more, you know. And then sometimes, you know, I used to carry the book with me, so I say, "Would you like to see the book?" You know, and I let them, you know, take a look at it, and sometimes they want to buy it right on the spot. You know, and that's why I always carried a few copies with me. But you know, I tried doing different events with them. I wasn't able to do the Easton Book Fest last year because I had a prior thing I was doing that weekend. But that Sunday, because I didn't realize how they were doing it, I didn't realize that Sunday was the day they were doing the thing at the Siegel Museum where they had all the authors at different tables. So I decided I would just take Kafka that day, that Sunday, because I wasn't doing anything that day. But I you know, hadn't reserved a table or anything, so I couldn't take a table. So I just took Kafka over, and we went, you know, to the area where they had all the authors, you know, seated at all these different tables, and talking all their wares. And people just flipped out. All the authors were crazy about meeting him. You know, when they found out that he had written a book too, that he was one of them, you know. And so he just was sort of the hit of the day there, and I ended up selling 4 copies of his book, even though I didn't have a table, you know. But yeah, people wanted to buy his book, and yeah.
So Joe, I hear you're a writer too, right?
I try to be, yeah. I'm working on it. I'm not as famous as Kafka or anything, but
I was just wondering if you wanted to mention any things you've written.
I have a few books that I've written. I did a film review column for the Easton Irregular for 18 years.
Oh,
way back when. And I took the first 12 years of my columns and put them together into a book called Movies on My Mind. And that was really just to have something that I could hand to like a publisher or an agent, kind of like an expensive calling card. And so yeah, I did do that book. That was like my first published book, and no publisher was interested in doing that book because I wasn't, you know, Roger Ebert or Leonard Maltin or anybody famous, you know, that a publisher would be interested in doing that. So I had to self-publish that book, but I was okay with that. And then I did a book on the movie 2001. I'd actually already written that book, but that took 10 years to find a publisher after I'd written it, you know, and everything. So that was like my, you know, next book. And then I wrote a couple of books. Fix this one before it falls over. I wrote a couple of children's fantasy books called Princess Bria, and so they were again self-published. And I have half a dozen other books I'm working on right now, and I'm planning on doing 2 more Kafka books. I have the second one almost done. It was planned to be a trilogy anyway, and so I got the first one while, you know, Kafka was still with us. So the other 2 will be posthumous, but I see no reason why I can't put those out as well. And then I'm thinking of doing a book of my own, under my own name, about Kafka. That's going to be called Kafka Moon, and that's just, you know, my remembrances of you know, living with Kafka and being with him. So it'll be like my memoirs on Kafka as opposed to his memoirs of us. So that's what that book will be. So I'm looking forward to doing all those, and the fantasy children's books, the Princess Bria ones I did. I have 2 more planned that are more boy oriented. You know, the Princess Bria, just from the title, that's something that would appeal more to girls, even though there's no reason why little boys can't read that book or those books and enjoy them. But I thought I might as well do one that's geared towards little boys, and so I decided to do a series called The Knights of Pick-a-Lot, and that's going to be about the early days of Pick-a-Lot, before Princess Bria was even born. And so it's about the formation of the knights, and the one character in the Princess Bria was her uncle, who was based on me, named Sir Joseph. So this will be about when he was much younger, and he was, you know, part of the formation of that group. So I wrote one of the 6 stories that I need to do those 2 books. I just need to write the rest of them and then get that going. And I have lots of other, you know, book projects in my mind, and, you know, hopefully I'll get to it. I want to do a book on cheesy movies. I'm working on that, so I got lots and lots of projects in the works. But today is Kafka's day, you know. It's really about him and all this stuff. And like I said, I'm just so happy to have had him in my life. And anybody who's had a pet, I'm sure feels the same way. So, but enough about me and Kafka. Now it's time to sell his book. I'm hoping a couple of people will be interested in buying a copy. Oh, don't forget to come up and get your free tote bag, whether or not you buy a book. You don't have to buy anything at all if you don't want to.